Hey everyone, I am Josh.
I'm Jack.
And this week, our guest for the first episode is Mr. Dave Polacek. So, we're going to play our theme. We're going to get right back into it. You're listening to Magic City Neighbors on the mic, where we talk to your Barberton neighbors about their stories, their insights, and what gets them laughing. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And now, to the show. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. We are really excited to start this podcast. This is the first episode that we're going to dive into here. First off, I want to let you know this week's sponsor is Pedal Stomper Productions. Anything from senior portraits to corporate videos to, yes, even video podcast studios. Pedal Stomper Productions is your photo and video partner. Visit www.pedalstomperproductions.com for more information, and we'll have their link in the description or show notes for today's show. Now, to dive into this, to give you a little introduction here, I am Josh Trokey. I am the owner of Pedal Stomper Productions. We now have the studio here in Barberton, and with this, I wanted to make sure that we got people to come in and talk. And one of those people is the guy sitting next to me here.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jack Hornack. I'm a senior at Barberton High School, and I'm also part of our TV studio program.
And Jack being part of that is part of the reason why he's here. But we're super excited as we have Mr. Dave Polacek here. And Dave, do you do anything in Barberton, or have you done anything in Barberton?
Well, I ride my bicycle once in a while. Other than that. No, actually, I'm a citizen of Barberton. I've lived in Barberton since 1987. Graduated Norton High School, got my bachelor's degree from University of Akron. And currently, for the last 27 years, I've been with the Barberton Fire Department.
So just a few things.
I'm currently a captain and a fire marshal for the city. And I'm also on the Barberton School Board. I'm the vice president right now. And I'm in my fourth term.
Wow. So yeah, when I filmed with the firemen before, there was a reason why a number of guys called you Mr. Barberton. And
and I did the scouting program for about 40 years as well. So
that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Among other things.
Nothing big.
Yeah. Just a couple of things here and there. So to me, I'm going to ask some fireman questions
Sounds
here.
Great.
And so now that you're fire marshal captain, you said, correct?
Correct.
So what is that job kind of entail?
Okay, that's a good question. So basically we take care of all the inspections in the city of Barberton. We go around and make sure the businesses are, they're up to code compliant, which are based upon what the fire code is and the state fire code. We also do any fire investigations. We actually had 2 house fires today, and we did 2 investigations today. I'm also the public information officer. So any type of press release or interview with the media, I take care of that. I'm also the public education coordinator. So we go out and spread the word about fire safety and life safety. I do have 3 teams that work with me.
Wow.
And it's really, really great.
To me, I mean, so what makes Barberton different from that aspect? I mean, I know, and to me, I see it as, okay, the first question is you're going to get is hey, you're the guy that comes in that tells us we're not up to code and you're the big jerk.
Well, and it's funny because, that yes and no. So I try to explain to the business owner, you have an investment, you have a business, you might have a building.
Yeah.
You've invested a lot of time and a lot of money. So you want to protect that investment. So that's number one. Safety is what it's all about. And when you explain to a business owner that, hey, we're here to help you, to make sure that, you don't want to lose your business, because your insurance is going to dictate, your rates, what it costs you to be in business. And if you are in compliance, that helps your insurance rates.
So, I mean, do you do anything to make it easier or simpler for businesses to come in? Because I realize that in a lot of cases there's tough stuff to look at, but what can be done to, I guess I would say, attract businesses and stuff to Barberton?
Well, it's a matter of, you start with the whole zoning and making sure that whatever business does come in fits the neighborhood, fits the area. Obviously we don't want a nuclear power plant to show up and set up next to Lake Anna. While that would be amazing to bring in a lot of jobs, you don't want something like that because, you're in the middle of a community. There's some things that are involved with where you can and what you can have in certain things. It's got to be safe so people can walk around. You're supposed to be at least 36 inches, but it's supposed to be 39 inches for your aisleways as you're walking around. And trust me, I get some complaints about some businesses saying, oh, it's really crowded in here. And that's part of my job is to go out and just take a look. And, a lot of this stuff is temporary, because they're doing a floor move or they've got some new stock coming in. And I just, I casually mentioned that, hey, you might want to, keep that clearance, that aisle a little bit open. But the big thing is make sure the exits are blocked. That's a huge one. And, just, hey, and in the easy way, I kind of tell or suggest, hey, why don't you paint a little yellow line around that exit? So that way, your employees are not to put anything within that yellow line. It's like a caution circle or something like that. And that helps a lot.
And it's a bucket of paint.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And the same thing, like storage close to the ceiling. People are always stacking stuff up and you have a certain height you're supposed to be if you have a sprinkler.
Okay.
You don't have a sprinkler. And I told the one gentleman or suggested, hey, why don't you paint a line all the way around, so many inches down and just tell your employees you can't go above the line. That's a great idea. So
do you work with new businesses that are coming in?
Yeah, I work with new businesses, established businesses, and potential businesses. So
what's the potential side on that? That sounds interesting.
Yeah, the potential side is interesting. So let's say, somebody wants to come in and make widgets. Okay. And they want to have a widget factory. So what they have to do with the widget factory, they have to submit a set of plans to the zoning commission and a planning commission. And they look to see if, it'll fit where it's supposed to go. And the building department also gets a set of plans and they look at to make sure that it's compliant. They send it off to their certified plan people that they look at it and they're engineers and they make sure that the plans are code compliant. And then I get a copy to make sure they're fire compliant as well. And it kind of starts that way. And so you kind of talk a little bit about it. Hey, think about this, think about that. What did you think about this? And the majority of the time, architects are pretty much up on it. They understand what the codes are and things like that. So it's not like it's a big in your face thing once they, start, doing bricks and mortar. They kind of understand what's going on. And then as it progresses, we do site visits and we make sure things are, what they said they were going to be. Because, we were going to put in it was going to be a floral shop and now it's going to be an acid dipping, rim dipping place.
Those are similar.
I can see the mix up. Yeah.
And I can see how somebody might get confused,
It's not a hard thing to mess up.
Exactly. So, and again, it's one of those things to make sure that they're doing exactly what they said they were going to do. And, again, things do change and you have to be, on the fly sometimes, but again, it's education and trying to come up with solutions that are amicable. Because the end result is, yes, we want to be safe, but we want to make sure we have businesses in town and, they're contributing because they're why we're here.
Yeah. Very much so.
When you sit and talk to people and you explain, you get a lot farther. Rather than coming in and going, hey, screaming and yelling is, that's old school. It doesn't go very well. Everybody's been really wonderful.
Who wouldn't let you in, Dave? I mean, it's just you. It's just you. Speaking of which, though, speaking of the education component,
I was going to touch on your school board position.
Sure.
So would you like to tell us a little bit about that and how you are working with the public schools on the school board?
Yeah. So school board sets policy and basically they set policy for the schools and they have two jobs, hire the treasurer and hire the superintendent. And then to make sure that, they do their jobs and we're basically their boss.
Okay.
So that's a lot of fun sometimes. I will tell you this, working with the district, I've been involved in this district. This is my fourth term. I was off a term. So basically 20 years. So 20 years ago, there was a group ahead of me or behind me. And, we saw a need of, hey, we'd love to have some new schools. We'd love to have some new opportunities. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
My last term that I would just finished up and I'm just starting the fourth term. There were a lot of projects that were started 16 years ago, 18 years ago. And it's cool to see it come out, and I tell you what, we've got the most tremendous staff. We really do, from everything from the people serving the food in the line to the bus drivers to our custodial staff. I mean, our buildings the high school's 22, 23 years old. Yeah. And you have people come in there and they're amazed at what great shape it's in.
Definitely. Yeah.
The idea is to take the kid from the level they were at and take them to the next level and take that student up to the next level. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I know that's happening. I know learning's happening in Barberton. And the opportunities that is the Forest City Joint Vocational Program is amazing.
One of the biggest, for
Yeah,
sure. There's
it's
so many
amazing.
opportunities and stuff.
And then the college credits. I mean, we had how many get their associate's degree while they were going to
In
high school?
yeah.
I think we had 20 or
Crazy.
22 last year. I mean, that's incredible.
That is.
And that's what we want to do. You know, we want to make sure they're safe. You know, having the school resource offices in every school is just a blessing.
Yeah.
And they're the same people.
Mhm.
And to get that positivity between the police and the students, you know, and have that structure
Yeah.
in the schools. And it breaks down a lot of barriers,
Mhm.
you know, because they don't get an easy chance, the cops nowadays, and that's unwarranted.
Yeah.
We've got a great police force here. I've known these guys my whole life. I worked at Blossom for 25 years. I knew every Summit County deputy for the last 30 years, you know,
Yeah.
and a lot of good people coming through. But to have that in there, and there's a lot of districts that don't. They hire, you know, anybody from any of the police department to come in and just sit. Well,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm sure you know a couple of the officers.
Mhm.
They're very interactive.
Everhart. Yeah. He's a
and
big
they're,
one in ours.
and
yeah.
they're interactive. I mean,
Mhm.
the one gentleman, he makes chalk drawings and has the kids do drawings and he passes out stuff. I mean, it's just, you know, Officer
Doing
Coburn.
stuff to make you feel comfortable and
it's
such
amazing.
in the
and,
school.
And it really does help. So
Yeah,
again, it's one of those great things that the schools do offer.
Mhm.
You know, and our sports program's great. Our arts program, you know, Triumph Arts Festivals this
Beautiful.
weekend.
Yep.
And,
Saturday.
And they're going to do a showing here then
They
afterwards. And I'll tell you what, every time I go to that arts festival, I just, all the way from kindergarten, preschool, all the way up,
Amazed.
the talent, and it's every aspect. And that's what I love about being on the board. I really do. It's seeing the change, being a part of that,
Yeah.
just a small part of that. Because again, it comes down to the team and
Yeah.
building consistency and then building, you know, and like I tell everybody, everybody's one heartbeat away from the next position. So I'm comfortable that if somebody suddenly leaves, we can fill that position and keep going and we won't have to, you know, slow down a lot.
Mhm.
So, and that's what's great.
Then I
That's
wanted to
great.
touch too.
Sure.
So talking about like all of the good things that we have going on in high school, where do
Mhm.
you see, what do you see in the future for all these schools? And like what bright spots do you think we could?
So
Fill
there's a program that we've been playing around with trying to get established, and it's kind of going called Year 13. And Year 13 is one of these things where kids and adults that have been out, maybe they went to school for a year or two in college and they said, not for me.
Mhm.
And they can come back and maybe get an associate's degree or something else that's available through like something with the Forest City Joint Vocational.
Mhm.
Our preschool program, the same thing. You know, we love to expand that more. We're kind of size limited. So you got to try to expand or explore different avenues for that.
Yeah.
Forest City Compact programs are unlimited. You know, it's just a matter of finding the buildings, finding the teachers.
Oh yeah.
But when something comes up, we try to address it. And that's what's great, you know, between Wadsworth, Norton, Copley, and us, man, I'll tell you what, everybody's on board.
Mhm.
I mean, it's truly amazing. And I see us just, you know, Barberton's one of those communities where we truly are a small town.
Yeah.
And somebody said last night, we're one of the most generous communities out there. When there's a need, it gets filled.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And it's just, you don't see that. And it's just one of those things. I got so many stories about stuff like
Mhm.
that. But yeah.
That's one of which we may touch on here in a
Mhm.
second. So we are going to shoot some rapid fire questions
Okay.
at you that some of them came in through Facebook, other
Okay.
social media, stuff like that. So the first one I got is there's the Esther Ryan Spaghetti Dinner. And I know you said it's 27 years at the fire department.
Yeah. I've been 27 years.
Do you know the spaghetti sauce recipe for the Esther Ryan dinner?
No, they won't even let me in the kitchen to cook it.
I believe we have some video of that's coming
Mhm.
out from the firemen's union. here in
And
the
I
next
was
few weeks.
actually interviewed by the Beacon about 2 or 3 years ago about that. And the same thing came up. And it was, we thought it was going to be a little 2-sentence article and it ended up being the front page, half the page.
Wow.
And it was
Big deal.
it was a big deal. But
And you
know
didn't
what?
have the recipe.
Oh, of course not. I don't have the recipe.
That's tough.
And I get asked that all the time.
Yeah. And then another one, I'm also very interested in this. What's the number one dinner food that firemen are always hungry for when you're on the job?
Whatever's on sale. So a lot of people don't
whatever's cheap.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people don't understand that. You know, the firemen pay for their own food.
Mhm.
So what happens is they figure out what's on sale or what's going on. They'll go to the store and buy it, and then we
that.
split the cost.
Okay.
And then they usually up that cost 50 cents to $1, and that goes into a fund. And then when we have a holiday, then it's a free holiday meal.
Oh, nice.
Or it's a minuscule amount of a holiday meal, but we pay for our own toast, our own coffee.
Really?
Yeah.
So whatever's cheap.
Yeah, whatever's cheap. And there are some specialties. Now, I will tell you that some firefighters are not allowed to touch anything in the kitchen but the dishes. And that's okay.
That's for, once again, I believe we had a conversation earlier about safety.
Yeah, exactly. Safety. Sure. Let's go with the safety thing. Yeah.
So another question that came in. So this speaks right to the fire marshal in you. So is a home insulated with foam insulation a higher burn risk?
See, and I looked that one up because I kind of got a little inkling of that when I looked into it. What I can tell you is because of what the material it's made of, it will throw off a lot more smoke and a lot more acrid smoke.
Okay.
So can I say it's a more rapid fire or spreads? I don't have the answer to that. But all I know is if it does go, it's a lot smokier. It's a petroleum base usually. And petroleum base is usually,
More
throws
smoke.
off a really thicker smoke.
Makes sense.
So sure.
And
Makes
then, why did you decide to become a fireman?
Why did I decide to become a fireman?
What irked you to just?
Well, the interesting thing is I think it's one of those, every little kid likes to be, see the fire trucks and all that cool thing. I actually was going down the road of electronics. My brother was a big in electronics. And so I was going to do that. And then I said, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go to school, because they were pushing college big time. Now I was fortunate enough to get a four-year full ride scholarship. And I stayed local because it was just me and my mom at that point. My father passed away when I was 11 years old. And I was the youngest of 5. So I stuck around and I went to school and I'm like, what do I want to do when I grow up? Well, hey, radio's cool. I want to be a DJ. So I actually got a broadcasting degree. I was on the air for 3 years and I liked music. I really liked music, but concerts were expensive. So I saw an ad one day that said, well, you can work at Blossom Music Center. We'll pay you up to $6 an hour. Holy smoke, that's a lot of money because minimum wage is $4.25.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, cool. So I ended up starting out in the parking lot and you'd go in and you park the cars and then you got to go watch the show and you got to come back out and, let the cars out. This is awesome. I'm making $30 a night and I get to go in and see the shows. Oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So anyway, that went a few years and one night, and I got to know people up there and I'm talking to a gentleman who was on the first aid squad and he's an Eagle Scout and I'm an Eagle Scout. And we were just talking about stuff. Well, all of a sudden he's short. He doesn't have an extra person and he gets a call and he's like, hey man, first aid, jump on the cart with me and help me out. Oh, okay. Well, I was pretty good at first aid. I had a lot of great scout teachers that we learned from a World War II, our Korean War ambulance driver. You better know first aid with him.
They knew it. You knew it.
Shout out to Dave Single, and Gary Vargo, who was also a nurse at the VA.
Wow.
And then Wayne Brown, who was a Barberton firefighter. They taught some first aid classes. They were pretty serious. Yeah. So anyway, so I go on this call and blah, blah, blah. And the person's fine. We get him up there. And afterwards, the guy says, hey, did you ever think about becoming an EMT? Nah, not really. I was already graduated college by this point. And he goes, well, if you become an EMT, I'll hire you and I'll pay you $12 an hour. Holy smokes, the devil.
Yeah.
So I got to be an EMT and the next year I got hired in and did that. And at this time I was a manager of a car wash and a detail shop. I came out and I ended up switching my major. I did the broadcasting, got a business management and broadcasting went corporate radio, which killed everything. So,
which is why we're here.
Yeah, exactly. So basically I got to know a bunch of these guys from all over the different fire departments that worked up there. And they're like, you ought to be a fireman. I'm like, well, I thought about it. Well, no. And basically you take a test and you go from there. So I took a test and I got hired. And one guy goes, wait a minute. You took one test and got hired. I've been taking tests for the last 5 years and I can't get a job. So it is what it is. And the crazy part is my son now works for that guy down in Canton. So we've been friends for 30 years. But, so that's, and when I tell that story, when I'm going around, everybody's like, oh, what's your degree? And I'm like, broadcasting. How did you become a fireman with a broadcasting degree? So, but it kind of comes full circle with the public information officer.
The last big rapid fire question we have is, what methods do you use to maintain your mustache?
With great mustaches come great responsibility.
Right.
My wife helps a lot. She does keep it trimmed.
So you get help.
Yeah,
you have help.
Oh yeah.
You have live-in help for the mustache.
Well,
live-in help for the mustache.
I do have live-in help.
That's
but it took forever to get it to this. It just did. So it's been off twice in our marriage in 28 years.
And how comfortable is your couch during that time?
I stayed at the fire station a lot.
Good call.
Even better.
So we've each got a question that we're going to ask everyone that comes on the podcast.
Perfect.
To me, I want to touch the funny side of this. So what is your favorite Barberton folklore / tale / tall tale / rumor? I mean, is the Loch Ness Monster in Lake Anna or something of that nature?
Lake Anna is bottomless. Come on now. We had a German U-boat that came up through, and I've heard that story.
So is that the favorite, or what is the favorite?
That's pretty much my favorite one that
somehow a German U-boat
and
made it up.
And Mom grew up by the stadium, and she's 94. She's still with us, and she laughs every time somebody says that. She's like, "Oh, those people!"
Wow.
But
they made a wrong turn at Albuquerque, like Bugs Bunny.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say.
And then my question, just to end it off: what do you see as a future for Barberton as a whole? Where do you see us going?
I see a lot of growth. I mean, with things happening, I will tell you this. Being involved with new businesses and planning and stuff, there's been 5 new businesses that have opened in the last 4 months.
Wow. And
plans for half a dozen more. I mean, plans come across my desk. And of course I can't talk about it until it gets going.
Finalized.
And that's kind of the frustration, because people sit there and bash and do this. And it's like, no, there's actually
they don't know what's on the way.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of great things happening. There's a lot of great plans going. I'm excited about the downtown. It's just nice to see people out and about, I think the Lake Anna is such a jewel. It was cool, and I remember as a kid, I never swam in it, but I was one of the last generations that was able to swim in it.
Mm-hmm.
We lived out in Norton, so we didn't have that, we didn't come into Barberton to swim. We had a pool right by our house, and my friend had his own pool, so we kind of stayed there. But I just see that there's a lot more recreation that can happen there. And I know there's a lot of plans for infrastructure and helping out that way around the lake. And again, it doesn't happen overnight. And that's what's so frustrating too, is people think that, you come up with a plan, you can build it tomorrow. No, and when you're dealing with, when you're dealing with grants, sometimes it takes you a year and a half, 2, 3 years to get your grants once you've applied for it. Mm-hmm. And you finally get all the project done. And, that's one of those things. So I see a lot of development, there's a lot of houses going up.
Yeah.
And then I see the revitalization of the old neighborhoods too, where people are investing, buying the houses. They're going looking at a new house that's $300,000, and they're like, but I can buy a house over here for 95 or 150, put another 40 or 50,000 into it,
bring it right up to that same
bring
one.
it right up to the same one. And I've got an older structure, but it's just built. Say it's 100 years old. It's probably going to last another 100 years. Mm-hmm. And that's what I see happening a lot. With the schools, with the community, it's just, we're going up. Yeah, we're continuing to go up. And that's what I love. And having, younger generation have some buy-in and doing great things as well. It's one of those cool things. And that's what I always try to encourage people to research and read about O.C. Barber and what he did and what his vision was. That man was amazing. He is truly amazing. And there's still a lot of cool buildings left that I think there's some cool things that can happen with that too, as well. I really feel that. So
there's a good future in looking at the past.
Absolutely.
And that to me is a great mark to leave this on. Dave, I really want to thank you for coming in this week. Thank you for being our guinea pig.
That's awesome.
For our first episode. Jack, thank you for co-hosting.
I even got my hair done for this too.
I know, and it looks wonderful.
It looks good.
It looks wonderful. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Everyone, make sure that you subscribe, like, share this with your neighbors. Obviously, your neighbors are who we are talking to on
talking
this.
to all of you right now. Yeah.
We are probably going to be about another week and a half, 2 weeks out for the next episode. I appreciate you coming along. We will see you guys soon. Thanks for coming along.
See ya.